Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How are you, students? I hope all of you are in a good condition. Welcome back to my English class. This is our final realization on our first chapter. So, before we start our lesson today, let's go back to what we have learned in the previous meetings. In the previous meetings, we have learned about countable and uncountable noun. We also learned about some and any, quantifier, containers, and also we have listened to Gordon Ramsay cooking a food, and also we have learned how to order a food. So, what's going on in the material today? So, today we're going to learn about how to write a recipe. Are you ready? Let's check it out. So, our topic for today is writing a recipe. Now, I have the example of a recipe. It is taken from the internet, and now let's take a look at this. The pepperoni pasta. So, this is the recipe of how to make a pepperoni pasta. And in a recipe, there are three things that we have to pay attention, or we can say that there should be in a recipe. So, the first one is the title. The title of the recipe is the pepperoni pasta. So that means that the recipe is going about to how to cook the pepperoni pasta. Next is the ingredients. The ingredients meaning the materials that should be included when we want to cook something. So can you count how many ingredients are there? First, we've got the red onions, 2 red peppers, 120 grams pepperoni, 1 can of tomatoes, 1 cup water, olive oil, garlic, oregano, and 50 gram pasta per person. So those are the ingredients. And the last one is the steps. So now let's take a look on this recipe. There are 5 steps in this recipe. Cut the onion, heat some oil, add oregano, cook the pasta, and serve the pasta. So that is the example of the recipe and things that should be in the recipe. Now, so in writing the steps, there are 2 ways in writing the steps. But before we try to explain how to write the steps, let's try to read the steps again. So we've got 5 steps here, and that is written in imperative sentence. And next is the passive voice. So in writing the recipe, there are 2 ways in writing the steps. The first one is using the imperative sentence, and the second one is passive voice. So, where's the example of imperative sentence? Now, take a look at this. Cut the onion. Heat some oil. Add the oregano. So, the steps written in that recipe belongs to the imperative sentence. And how about the passive voice? Let's take a look at the example. The onion is cut. Some of olive oil is heated. The oregano is added. That is the example of passive voice. Now let's take a look on the blue words here. The imperative sentence is written as cut, heat, and add. While in the passive voice, it is written is cut, is heated, is added. So, what's the difference between them? Now let's take a look. What's the differences? The imperative sentence, it's usually a command. So, it starts with a verb. So, for example, cut the onion, close the door, listen to your teacher, unmute your speaker, open up your video. Those are the example of the imperative sentence. So, what is the passive voice then? the passive voice, the object start the sentence and it is used the past participle. For example, in the previous recipe, in the previous steps, the onion is cut. So the object starts first. What is the object? The object is the onion, and it is used the past participle. Past participle. For example, the bread is sliced. Sliced is the past participle, or we can say is a verb 3. Okay. Now, I've got another example of the recipe. It is taken from our Will Do book. So you can read it later on our website, of course. It is written how to make an egg sandwich. The ingredients are 4 tablespoons of mayo, 2 hard-boiled eggs, salt to taste, black pepper, bread, and also some butter. So we've got one example of this step. Add 2 hard-boiled eggs. Okay, and the rest you can find out later. Okay. Now, we've got this example. There are 2 questions that you should answer. The first question is copy the sentences and underline the verb form. We have 2 examples of sentences here. The first one is the eggs are added to the bowl. Butter is spread on the bread. So the step number 1 is, look at that. Steps number 1, add 2 hard-boiled eggs, and then we transform it, we change it into the passive voice, so it becomes the eggs are added to the bowl. That's the passive voice of the first step. So for question number 1, we're going to try to answer that question. Okay, the eggs are added to the bowl. That's the verb form. Look at the blue words that has been underlined. So that is the verb form. And while the B, butter is spread on the bread. So is spread or is the verb form. So we have underlined that one, and you should pay attention to that one because that is the key of the passive voice. And now let's move on to question number 2. Why we use is in the first sentence and are in the other sentence? No, I mean in the second sentence. Yeah. Okay. Now let's answer questions number 2. Okay. The question for the first step, the eggs are added to the bowl. Why it is used are? Because the egg is plural, the object is plural, so it's used. It should be used are. While B, look at the B, the object is singular. It means that we used to have the we used to write is. So because the object is singular, and you have to remember. When it comes to the uncountable noun, no matter how much that ingredient is, it should be written with the is because it is uncountable. While in the countable noun, we can use both. Whether it is if the object is only one, so we use is, and if the object is more than one, we use are. So. The thing is that the object which is countable object, something that we can count, we can use both is or are. It depends on how many ingredients are. Okay. Now let's move on to that passive voice, to the sticky note on the yellow sticky note there. Okay. That we're going to study more about the past participle. Now look at that. Passive voice, it is when the object starts the sentence. We've got the example here. Eat the apple becomes the apple is eaten. Alright, eat the apple, that is the imperative sentence. The apple is eaten is the passive voice. So, we can say that eat changes into eaten. Eat is the verb 1, while eaten is the past participle or verb 3. If you check on a dictionary or on the website, so there are columns of the verb, column number 1, column number 2, and column number 3. The past participle is on the column number 3. So when we use the passive voice, we have two things that we have to remember. The first, how many objects? Is it only one or is it more than one? If it is more than one, so we have to use are, and if it is only one, we have to use is in the first part of the verb form. And next, we change the verb into the past participle. Right. So now let's have the exercise to make you more understand about the difference between the imperative sentence and also the passive voice. We've got 3 exercises here. No matter it is 3, but it will not take a long time for you to do the job. Believe me. Alright. So the exercise 1. Change the verbs into past participle as assigned in the module page 10. You can go to the Google Classroom. I have already posted the assignment and also the materials that we have today. So you can check later on how many verbs are there that you have to change into the past participle. The exercise number 2. All right. Go to our blog, the Victory Classroom, and then click on the language elements, ninth grade, and food demo. Listen and complete the steps. In the previous one, we have seen the example of unfinished recipe. So what you're going to do, you have to listen to the rest of the steps and then you have to write it on your book. And then after that, we move on to exercise number 3. So what you have to do after you listen and complete the steps? Of course, you have to change the steps into the passive voice. That's the thing. So here, after you listen to this video, please go to the Google Classroom and check on the assignment that I have already assigned to you. You have 3 exercises. The first one is you have to change the verb into the past participle, and next you have to listen and complete the steps. And after you have completed the steps, then you have to change it into the passive voice. If you have any questions, then you can ask me later on via WhatsApp. Alright, thank you very much. The assignment for this meeting has been posted in the Google Classroom. Well, have a good day everyone. See you again at the next meeting. Bye bye.